Salam aloha. So you may have heard that the late physicist Stephen Hawking said the Mayans miscalculated their end of the world predictions for 2012 and that it's actually off by 8 years. So that would make a little more sense, wouldn't it, right? With what's going on in 2020. And it does seem like the world is ending. So here's what he said. In many ways, the Mayans were ahead of their time, but in other ways, they were a little too clever for their own good. In this instance, they made the mistake of double counting bank holidays, meaning their calendar isn't due to run out for another 8 years. People should actually be worrying about 2020. That's the real end of the civilized world. So this was said 2 weeks before he died in 2018. So I don't want to go into a debate of is this true or not true, but it made me want to go back and look at the Mayan prophecies for 2012 and look at the chart at that time, right? Because the Mayans said it would be the end of time, which is different, right? End of the world, end of time. Those are two different things. So what does this mean? Well, I looked back at the 2012 chart and noticed something interesting that I hadn't seen before. Sedna was conjunct the south node of the moon at that time. So in this case, the nodes of the moon, in case you don't know astrology, they represents the karmic axis, the north and south nodes of the moon. So the south node is our collective karma, and that's what needs to be released. So what's Sedna? Well, Sedna is a large minor planet that's farthest from the sun. It was discovered in 2003, and the discovery of planets is a reflection of our human consciousness. So, for example, when Uranus was discovered in 1781, that time period was the Industrial Revolution, right? The age of the machine. It was the French Revolution. It was the American Revolution. So when we discover a planet, it means that some unknown part of our consciousness needs to be integrated. It's ready to be integrated, right? As above, so below. So as a side note, if you know human design, the discovery of Uranus also brought in this new nine-centered being, and it also brought in the aura type called the projector in the human design system. I'm a projector. I'm sure there's a lot of projectors watching this channel. So as an archetype, what does Sedna represent? Well, most of the planets are named after Greek and Roman gods and goddesses, but not Sedna. She's named after an Inuit goddess. So right there, that makes it really interesting too. So let's go into the mythology of Sedna, just to get more information. So Sedna was a beautiful young Inuit woman who is living with her father, right? And her father wants to marry her off. But she's turned down all requests for marriage because of her high standards, right? Her bar is very high. So the father, in his impatience, right, he just wants to marry his daughter off. Well, he convinces his daughter to marry this handsome, well-dressed stranger. And he's promising her the good life, right? He's going to take care of her. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. So in Sedna's naivete, she goes along with her father, right? So she marries the stranger. So then she paddles off to her husband's island. And it turns out that he's not human at all. He's not a nice person, but he's a bird, a raven, a trickster. And all those promises of a good life turn out to be lies. So then Sedna is then tortured and treated horribly by her husband. And Sedna screams, right, as she's being tortured. Screams so loud that her father can hear her. So in order to rescue her, her father paddles off to go get her, right? And so as they're paddling back home, right, the father and the daughter, this Birdman and all his relatives, they fly in and they attack their kayak. They attack their canoe. So in the course of the battle, Sedna falls into the ocean. And as she struggles to get back into the kayak, her father, in order to save himself, cuts off her fingers one by one as she tries to grasp the edge of the boat to get in. So, of course, she falls into the really cold Arctic water and then drowns. So her severed fingers become the fishes and the seals and the walrus and the whales, and she sinks to the very bottom of the ocean, where she becomes a goddess, right? The goddess who provides the food for the tribe. And she's a strict goddess, right? So if the tribe obeys her rules and they treat the fish and the seals and the walrus and the whales with respect, then she provides food, right, for the tribe. If not, the tribe gets no food. So they have to appease the goddess in order to eat. So here Sedna is coming back from the frozen waters, from the farmost reaches of our human consciousness. And Sedna is the feminine goddess that's coming back to take her rightful place. So in 2012, both Sedna and the south node of the moon were in the 8th hexagram, and this is the shadow of mediocrity, and it's the gift of style and the city of exquisiteness. So these are, if you know shadow work, it's really about 3 levels of consciousness, and they're all connected, right? So there's not, oh, over here is mediocrity, and over here is the gift, and over here is the city, and I've got to get away from the shadow because the shadow is bad, right? No, it's all the same energy. It's all the same energy, but it's experienced differently. So shadow is dense energy, and it becomes lighter and lighter as it transmutes into the higher frequencies. It's like kissing a frog, the fairy tale, you kiss a frog and it turns into the prince, right? So it's like this, the shadow transmutes into these higher frequencies. So this is what we're doing now as light workers for the Aquarian age, is we're integrating these dense energies, also called shadows or fears, right? And these come from our ancestors. And then when you integrate them, then they turn into the prince, right? They transmute themselves. So this is a great time of alchemy, but it's inner alchemy because it's happening all inside each one of us. So what's this 8th hexagram about? Because in 2012, Sedna in the south node of the moon were in the 8th hexagram. So this is like something to take note of. And what's this shadow of mediocrity? Well, it's about blending in. It's about fitting in with the crowd. It's the fear of what other people may think of me, right? It's compromising yourself in order to fit in to the status quo or some group that you belong to. It's not wanting to rock the boat, even if you know deep, deep in your heart that it's wrong. The shadow will say, bury your voice, right? Imitate others, do what other people are doing. Hide the real you. It's easier if you just follow along with the crowd. It's easier if you just follow the rules. Are we not seeing this out in the world right now? Right? We're seeing the shadow of mediocrity. So Sedna is saying, don't compromise yourself, your authentic self, because she compromised herself in order to please her father. And what happened to her? She was betrayed by both her father and her husband because she didn't want to marry that raven, right? So the father can represent the patriarchy, it can represent the government, it can represent religion, right? It can represent the health, educational institutions. It's any institution that we give our power away over to. This is where we can make their voice out there more important than our own voice, right? They know what's best for me. I'll just parrot what I heard on the news, right? They're the experts. My father, the government, cares about me. why would they lie to me? Why would they ever betray me? Right? So the only voice you can trust right now is your own voice, not the voice of your ego, but the voice of your soul. The voice of the ego is connected to the other voices of the group ego, right? That's the shadow of mediocrity. You want to go deep into your own inner voice, and that's the voice of your soul. So Sedna also represents the victim consciousness. And also, another interesting point was in 2012, Neptune activated the 55th hexagram, which is the shadow of victim. So anything Neptune touches, it dissolves it. That's why it's a spiritual planet, because it dissolves all boundaries. And it rules the ocean, which connects it to Sedna as well. So this is part of the 2027 mutation, is this particular hexagram is getting activated. It's already activating. It's in the process. So this is about letting go of victim and victimizer, because both are the same consciousness and they both need each other to exist. And the victim doesn't want to hear this. So if you think like, wait a minute, I'm the victim and they're the abuser, it's like it's the same energy, but it's different expressions. So we're moving out of that. And as you elevate up in your frequency, you'll know this as truth. So time. So the Mayans said time would end. So what does this mean in relation to Sedna and the Self Node? Well, Sedna had to let go of her mortal self, right? She surrendered into the ocean to become a powerful goddess. So time, as we know it, is the realm of the mind. So we perceive reality through our mind. So there seems to be a past, there seems to be a present, there seems to be a future, right? This happened in the past, that's going to happen in the future. This is the nature of the mind, right? It measures, it compares, it contrasts. This Mayan calendar wasn't about time, it was about consciousness. So remember that we're evolving out of a mental awareness system into a solar plexus awareness system that I talk about in my 6-hour plus 2027 webinar. If you haven't watched that yet, go check it out. It's on my website. So what does this mean? It means we're moving out of time. Time is ending. What does it mean? We're moving out of time. So we're becoming more and more into the now, the present moment. And have you noticed how difficult it is to access your memory? Right? Somebody asked me what did I do last week? Right? I can't remember that stuff anymore. So moving out of time is about letting go of your mortal body, right? That's ruled by the ego and the mind. And this allows your eternal self to come forward that lives outside of time. So it's not literal, like I have to die, my physical body has to die. No, it's a state of consciousness. So this means letting go of your victim, right? That victim consciousness, the belief that things are happening to us and we have no power, right? We all have it, because the age of Pisces was all about the victim and the abuser, right? So victim, right? The victim can't let go of the past, right? The victim can't exist outside of time. Victims are always talking about what happened to them in the past. This happened, this person did this, they did this. So whenever you hold a grudge, you're living in time. Whenever you can't let go of something from the past, you're living in time. Whenever you're seeking happiness somewhere out there in the future, right? I'll be happy when I get that perfect partner, that perfect job, when things get back to normal, right? This is living in time. So your awakening is to awaken to your eternal self, right? That's having human experiences that are transitory. You're a tourist, right? You're just visiting planet Earth. This isn't your real home. Your mortal body was born, and yes, it will die, but your eternal self was never born and will never die. So when you worry, oh, I'm going to get a virus, you're in time. When you worry about money and rent and bills, you're in time. Right? A lot of people on this planet are being tricked by the raven. I better compromise myself. I better do what I'm told. I better not trust my voice. Right? Then I'll be safe. As soon as you hear those words coming at you, promises of safety and security, that's a clue you're about to be manipulated. So go to your eternal self that lives outside of time, that knows the truth, because the eternal self is made of truth, the frequency of truth. So the eighth gift is style and exquisiteness. And this happens when you accept yourself, when you stop trying to fit in, when you're trying to stop people pleasing, right? When you trust your inner voice, even if it means people don't like you, or people are fighting with you, or people leave you. If these people go, it's a good thing, because it's making room for the people who will appreciate and love you for who you are. So being yourself is your true power. If you're trying to be someone you're not, there's no power there, right? There's no power at all. When you're trying to be someone you're not, you're giving your power over to someone else. That your power is in their hands. So this is your awakening right during this time. Never forget that. This is the great time of awakening for the Aquarian age. So don't worry about other people awakening or not awakening. It's about you, or focus on you. So this is all part of the solar plexus mutation, right? There's no mental self-image to project out there in the world or to defend. It's about embracing the mystery of who you are. So it's just pure being, right? It's pure being. It's presence, right? And that's what Sedna is showing us. It's the return of presence. That's the power, your power. So nothing's more powerful than presence, which is what you are. So the mind doesn't understand this, right? It's way above the mind's pay grade. And the solar plexus mutation that's happening doesn't experience time per se, like the measurement of time. It understands rhythm, right? It understands frequency. Simply put, rhythm is growth, maturation, decay, right? It's the cycles of nature. So we're going to become more and more attuned to rhythms and frequencies instead of time. So do you notice how many people are victimized by time, right? Are you hungry? No, it's not 5 o'clock yet. That's when I eat. Are you tired? Maybe you need to rest. No, it's too early. I go to bed at 10 p.m., right? They allow the clock, it's man-made time, to dictate their behavior and their thinking. Even the days of the week, right? I just learned this the other day. That Monday is ruled by the moon. Each day is ruled by a planet. So at one time we didn't work on Mondays as humans. It was a time to be with family. It was a time to do the laundry and cook and be at home, right? That's the moon rules all those things. So that's where the Monday blues come from. It's forcing us out of our natural rhythms, right? Patriarchy, capitalism forces us out of our own natural rhythms, forces us out of our power. And even my own personal story, I try to fight against this. Like Mondays were always brutal for me when I had a job, right? Or even if I try to work on Mondays. So I turned Mondays into me days. And now that I learned this, it's like, oh, of course, because it never felt right to me to be working on Monday. And it felt like pushing the river whenever I tried to do any work, right? Because it's about taking care of the home. So we're living in an artificial world. We have been living in an artificial world, and that's what we're waking up from. So natural law is coming to the planet. and it's becoming more and more powerful. So it's going to become more and more challenging to go against natural law. So the takeaway, right? The takeaway here is to be yourself, trust your own inner voice, live by your own natural rhythms, not clock time, and let go of the inner victim so that you can be your eternal self, right? So that you move out of time. So to be yourself is to let go of who you're not. So to be yourself is not, oh, I have to change and I have to be myself. It's like, no, yourself is there. All you have to do is let go of what you're not, right? So to help you with this, I've got my 6-week inner child program that I talk about at length in all my videos. So go check that out, and that helps with the deconditioning process. That's really, you're just undressing so that you can be yourself. And also, I'm really excited about presenting the future of relationships for the Aquarian age. So everything is evolving, right? All these structures are crumbling and coming down. But one main thing that's really, really going through a huge mutation is our relationships, right? They're going through radical changes. The way that we relate to one another will not be the same as before. So this webinar series is over 6 hours long. It's probably going to be longer than that. And it's live. And that starts on August 15th and August 22nd. Okay. So be sure to sign up for that. And I made sure that it's a time zone that works for Pacific Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, and all my friends over in Europe. It works for you guys too. So be sure to sign up for that. Okay. So it can be found in the link below. So please leave your comments and subscribe, ring the bell, share the video. And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I've got a free newsletter, and you can check that all out. Just go to the website and check that all out. Okay? So have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are in the world. Okay? And be yourself. Be the light. Spread the light. Okay. Aloha, Satnam.